Hey guys, I hope you're doing well and staying safe. So far, we are reading Act 1 in Julius Caesar. So I'm going to give y'all a rundown on what's happened throughout Act 1. This might take a few minutes. So I'm going to go really fast. And then if you have more in-depth questions, you're going to have to ask your teacher for that. So the play opens on a crowded and noisy street in Rome as Julius Caesar returns from battle, where he wrecked Pompey's sons. And Pompey, he's a guy that used to rule Rome with Caesar. They were called tribunes. So after disagreeing with Caesar about how Rome should be run, Pompey was defeated in battle and assassinated. And so just to be sure that Pompey's family and supporters couldn't come after him, Caesar chased Pompey's sons to Spain and defeated them in battle too. So he's victorious right now. That's what he's coming back to. Morellus and Flavius, Roman tribunes who are friends of Brutus and Cassius, come upon a group of common people running about in the street in their Sunday best when they should be working, and they ask about the commoners' professions, and they give them a hard time, and what are you up to, and all that stuff. And they respond that they're on their way to celebrate and honor Julius Caesar. So Morellus and Flavius point out that rather than celebrate the victory, the people should get on their knees and pray against whatever evil will come to them because of their ingratitude. So Pompey was once their leader, after all, and they all used to gather outside and watch his chariot go by. And now that Caesar has defeated Pompey's sons, it's like they've forgotten that. So before parting ways, Morellus and Flavius disperse the crowd and remove the party favors that the people have left around Caesar's statue. They hope that will slow Caesar's row a little bit as he prepares to overthrow the Republic and make himself king. So they think if they can keep him from getting too full of himself, perhaps they can prevent him from becoming a tyrant. At the start of scene 2, we see Caesar, Brutus, their wives, and all sorts of other people are gathered in a public place. They're getting ready to celebrate the Feast of Lupercal, which is an annual party which involves a bunch of Romans dressed in leather loincloths running around the city, lashing whoever they find with a goatskin whip. Like, seriously, that's what it is. Caesar's friend Antony is going to be running in the festival this year, and Caesar tells Antony to not forget to touch Calpurnia. She's Caesar's wife, and the whip is supposed to cure her barrenness, or ability to not have a kid. Before we forget, this is the same Antony who shows up later in Shakespeare's play Antony and Cleopatra. It's the same person. After broadcasting his wife's business in the street, Caesar hears a soothsayer call out to him in the crowd, and Caesar now hears the famous warning, beware the Ides of March, beware of March 15th, is what the No Fear translation says. But he ignores it. He doesn't care what that guy has to say. He's like, whatever. Brutus and Cassius meet and talk while everyone else moves on to the next event. Cassius says his good friend Brutus hasn't seemed very friendly recently. Brutus reassures Cassius, it's not you, it's me. He's been preoccupied with thoughts that he'd rather keep to himself. He's like, I love you, dude. And then Cassius then starts to suggest that Brutus, his own humbleness, won't let him acknowledge. He starts to suggest some things that Brutus's humbleness won't let him acknowledge. Cassius hints that Brutus has a reputation for being a really good guy, really honorable, and that everybody agrees about this except Caesar. As Brutus begins to catch a whiff of the treachery and Cassius's talk, Cassius assures Brutus that he's being serious about the whole noble thing and not flattering him or any of that stuff. So without saying anything, Cassius suggests that a whole lot of respected Romans would think it's nice if someone like Brutus led Rome, even if it meant getting rid of Caesar. So they're interrupted by shouting, and Brutus points out that he loves Caesar, but hopes that Roman people haven't crowned him king. They're supposed to live in a republic, not a monarchy. So Brutus adds that he loves honor more, and he's afraid of death, and it causes Cassius to suggest, we should do something to stop Caesar. So Cassius harps on the fact. He keeps going on and on about the fact that Caesar isn't any better than us. He's just another man. there's no reason for us to be his subject. So Cassius says that Caesar is gutless. He tells a story about how Caesar challenged him to race on the river, but Caesar got tired and Cassius had to go back and rescue him from drowning. And then he talks about how Caesar was sick when he was in Spain, had a seizure, whimpered, and he's just trying to imply that Caesar's weak and he should not be a king or any of that. So there's some more shouting that is implying that the people are crowning Caesar, which helps Cassius's case. He drives home his point that Brutus is just as good as Caesar, and they would be cowards if they didn't do anything to stop Caesar from becoming the first man of Rome. And Cassius then appeals to Brutus's family history, blah, 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 how Brutus's ancestors helped establish the Roman Republic by fighting a tyrant. And he's basically telling Brutus, hey, you need to uphold your family name. That's what you guys are known for. So Brutus kind of is like, I'm not suspicious of Cassius's motives or flattery, but let's not, try to kill Caesar for a little bit. So Brutus says he'll think about it, and he gives Cassius a little bit of hope with it, with a final thought that he'd rather be a villager than call himself a son of Rome. So if things continue on the current path, which means Rome would not be a republic anymore, this would be fine, except Brutus has no interest in being a villager. So when Caesar returns, Brutus notices everybody looks kind of unhappy. Caesar catches Cassius kind of giving him the stink eye and gives Antony instructions. Hey, I'd like to be surrounded with fat, happy men, because the lean and hungry men like Cassius seem dangerous. So Antony assures Caesar, he says, hey, he's noble, he's not dangerous, don't worry about him. And then Caesar continues to go on about how he doesn't like Cassius, because Cassius doesn't like music or smiling or people that are better than him. Like, obviously, Caesar does not trust Cassius. So just then, we get Brutus and Cassius talking with Casca, another character, who had been at the festivities, and then they asked Casca, they said, hey, why is Caesar so ticked off right now? And Casca is like, hey, the crowd was gathered to watch Caesar receive a symbolic crown that Antony offered him, and Caesar kept refusing it. He refused it 3 times, and all 3 times the crowd lost their mind, probably because their fearless leader is humble. And then he thinks the crowd was stupid for not noticing how hard it was for Caesar to resist taking the crown. Because each time he kind of was kind of let his hand linger and stuff like that, like he really wanted to take it. So the whole thing was so upsetting that prompted one of Caesar's seizures in the middle of the marketplace. He'd fallen down, started foaming at the mouth, was unable to speak, all that stuff. Before Caesar had the seizure, he stood up to the crowd and opened his jacket, offering the crowd his throat to cut, which is kind of weird. But when he came to, he apologized for any weird behavior, blamed it on his sickness. Everyone happily forgave him. But Casca had mentioned, he's like, the people would have forgiven him for killing their mothers. Essentially called them foolish sheep. So Brutus asked Cicero, who's a great orator, if he had anything to say about this, and Casca says Cicero did speak, or he asked if Cicero had anything to say about it. Casca said Cicero did speak, but he couldn't understand because he was speaking in Greek. So Casca doesn't understand Greek, and the phrase "it's all Greek to me" comes from that. Casca also noted that Morellus and Flavius from Scene 1 have been punished. They lost their positions after their adventure stripping the people's ornaments off of Caesar's statues. Casca agrees to have dinner with Cassius at his place sometime, even though he's kind of a jerk about it. And Brutus and Cassius part ways. Cassius thinks that Brutus is going to get on the bandwagon with him for the conspiracy, even though he is noble and honorable. Cassius is convinced that Caesar favors Brutus over everybody else, which makes it harder for Brutus to rebel against him. It's kind of hard to kill someone who's nice to you, I guess. I don't know. And then Cassius thinks that he'll get Brutus kind of swayed by faking letters in different handwritings and throwing them through his window. There'll be letters praising Brutus, and between the lines he'll suggest, Caesar's ambitious, should be put down by like Brutus and everything, to try to shake Brutus's loyalty. So he's coming up with some subplots to kind of trick Brutus right now. So moving into scene 3, Cicero runs into Casca on the street that night. Casca's a little like shaken up. He's like, this is crazy. There's a big storm going on. He says that the sky is dropping fire, that he thinks there's a civil war in heaven. The gods are raining down fury because they're displeased with the world. This is all kind of crazy talk, except Casca's seen, he's seen bad weather. He saw a boy's hand was lit on fire by a torch and it didn't burn. He saw a lion that was just kind of sitting there. It didn't attack him or anything. He saw a bunch of women were terrified by a vision that they swore they saw of men walking the streets in flames. So all this weird stuff. Nighttime bird was in the market during the daytime, which kind of freaked him out. So it's bad omens for them. Everything has kind of got him worried. So Cicero is like, hey, we should hold off on saying anything crazy about flaming men and lions and birds that are not sleeping when they should be sleeping, and let people will interpret whatever they mean to them. So he confirms that Caesar will be at the Capitol the next day, and then Cicero leaves. So Casca runs into Cassius, who's been standing out in the rain, presenting himself to heaven, hoping to be struck by lightning. Casca thought it was kind of weird, and he was like, maybe you should be scared of the gods instead of going out and being like, yeah, strike me down. I just imagined from Bruce Almighty where Jim Carrey is like, smite me, almighty smiter. So that's what I got out of it. Cassius thinks that Casca is an idiot. He tells him too. He's like, dude, you're dumb. Because the heavens are making the world the signal of their serious displeasure with the state of affairs. Basically, somebody is no better than Cassius and has grown too powerful is the way Cassius is putting it. He's talking about Caesar again. So Cassius really does not like Caesar. Casca, who's an idiot, asks Cassius, are you talking about Julius Caesar? And then Cassius does the whole maybe, maybe not, I don't know. He's a true politician at heart. Either way, Casca says that the Romans are being cowards by doing nothing. And this is only going to get worse. He heard that tomorrow the senators will crown Caesar the king, and he's going to get to wear his crown everywhere except in Rome. So he's going to, when he's out at sea, when he's going to visit other countries, he's going to wear his crown and say, I'm the king of Rome. So yeah. And Cassius is like, well, I'm going to wear my dagger. He just talks about his plan to murder Caesar. So the thunder stops. Cassius he says that Caesar's only a tyrant because people are idiots and want to be taken advantage of. And then Cassius pretends to be surprised about revealing so much, in front of Casca. So Casca takes the bait and tells him like, hey, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to tell Caesar that, you're planning on killing him. And more importantly, he pledges to join the conspiracy to kill Caesar. He's like, yeah, we should kill Caesar. So conveniently, this is like their meeting starting, and they're standing at the old Theater Pompey's porch. They're all waiting for Cassius. So Cinna is another conspirator. He happens to be on his way to the same secret meeting. They all sit there and talk. Cinna mentions that it would be really nice if Brutus was interested in killing his friend. Hey, if Brutus was into killing Caesar, this would be great. That's basically the way he tells him. So to further that goal, Cassius sends Cinna on the errand to throw the letters through the window and leave them in various places that Brutus will find them. And Cassius impersonated other Romans, all that stuff. They praise Brutus. Someone should really shake up, basically saying someone needs to kill Caesar for Rome's sake. So Cassius confides to Casca that they'll have Brutus on their side in no time. Brutus is well regarded and make all the nasty things that they end up doing seem virtuous and worthy. So they really want Brutus on the side because if he is involved in killing Caesar, then the people will see it as an honorable thing, is essentially what they're trying to do. So Cassius agrees, yes, we do need Brutus. By morning, I'll have confirmation on whether or not he'll be a part of this group. And that's the end of Act 1, Scene 3. So essentially, in the shortened version, let's find it. Scene 1, Flavius and Morellus are scolding a crowd of commoners who are celebrating Julius Caesar's triumphant return. In Scene 2, Cassius and Brutus talk about how they're concerned about Caesar's power, and they learn that people offered Caesar the opportunity to become king. So far, he's declined, but they don't think that that's going to keep happening. And then Scene 3, an intense storm hits. Cassius reveals that he wants to overthrow Caesar and kill him before he becomes king, and he intends to use fake letters to win Brutus over. All right? So that's what we got. All right? I hope you all stay safe and everything. If you are having trouble understanding some of the stuff, the website I used for my summaries and everything that I was talking about, it was Schmoop. You can also use Sparknotes and all that stuff. It tells you, a good amount. It's a good resource for you. Obviously, nothing is better than actually reading it, but those are good spots to help you out a little bit. If you have any more questions, go ahead and email your teacher about your questions, and they can help you out. All right? Hope you have a good rest of the week. I'll be back. I'll make another video next week for you guys with the instructions, and then another one for Act 2. See you soon.